important that we prioritize the energy resources that the African continent have in abundance today. And we do so in a way that we do not pollute the environment. We do so in a way that we do not actually affect the health of the environment and the health of the people that the environment harbors. Right here in Nigeria and also in the African continent, the continent holds a global advantage in clean energy resources. It is these resources that we must prioritize and we must develop. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, based on these very simple aspects that I've mentioned today, farming is not enough. Integrating nature-based agriculture with clean energy development as a complementarity and linking these to markets and ensuring that there is a common standard that controls what we produce is very, very important. But these actions in the agricultural sector and also in the clean energy is what we call Africa's catalytic sectors. These are the sectors that are not just inclusive, but the sectors we have in abundance, but we keep talking about abundance and talking about potential. Potential doesn't fit anybody. Potential has been talked for 60 years in the African continent today, and in 2017 we cannot keep talking about it. This is what Africa should start focusing on, its catalytic sector, which Nigeria and Africa shares in abundance. Honorable Representative of the Honorable Minister of State, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our actions are important, our skills are important, our talents are important, our networks are important, our partnerships are important, and what we have at our disposal, called both physical and non-physical resources, can actually drive the transformation of this sector in such a way that we have never seen before in this African continent. This is the premise of what we call innovative volunteerism. And this is what this National Day of Ibafosa, climate resilience, and food security is all about. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we have to be comforted by an African proverb that goes thus, that two ants do not fail to pull one grasshopper. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, two ants do not fail to pull one grasshopper. And even if it fails to pull one grasshopper, but us coming together, we may be able to pull more. And if there was a time for us to gather, it is now. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, what we know is that in the life of any continent, anywhere in the world there exist decisions upon which the continent, the future of a continent or a country depends. And recognizing that there is a time to gather stones and also a time to scatter them represents a turning point of a continent or a country. For example, right here in the African continent, monumental decisions that were made by our founding fathers set the continent towards a path of self-determination. Right here in the African continent, those decisions gave us the life that we enjoy today in our own respective countries. In the United States of America, the signing of the Declaration of Independence established the ideals and the goals that build America today. In Europe, the Renaissance movement, a decision to focus on intellectual and cultural development, set the foundation to building the modern Europe. But right here today, the 24th of November 2017, are convening under the Ecosystem-Based Adaptation for Food Security Assembly, EBAFOSA, in engaging our skills, our professional and personal networks, our partnerships, among other resources our own disposal today towards maximizing the productivity of the agro-value chain, towards maximizing the catalytic sectors of the African continent today is surely the transformational decision of our time. This is a transformational decision of our time because the challenges are so many. And in 2017, we cannot be talking about challenges that we talked about 60 years ago. We have to be talking about solutions. We have to be talking about wealth creation, not poverty reduction, because poverty reduction will not create wealth. We have to be talking about what we have in abundance, our skills, our talent, what we call human capital. And this is the essence of our discussion here today. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, as we speak here today, we are 2 years into the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. We are 2 years into the implementation of the Paris Climate Change Agreement that Nigeria ascribes to, just as many African countries have done, to ensure that we achieve food security, to ensure that we can put poverty on the run and prosperity into the cockpit of progress, to ensure that we can create wealth for the unemployed youth across the continent, and at the same time protect the very environment in which we live in. Distinguished colleagues, while these goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, are noble, we are faced with challenges that could render these goals a distant dream. We are faced with climate change, which is already redefining the contours of our very continent today. and affecting so many in the continent, and already even forcing people to seek sanctuaries in places not their home. And climate change will cause agricultural production to reduce by up to about 40%. We are faced as a continent with food insecurity. We are faced as a continent with people, 240 million people going to bed hungry in a continent that have abundance. What a continent sometimes with abundance, but with so many people going to bed hungry. This should worry us. And today that discussion should worry us more because of the continent. Ecological degradation is costing this continent $68 billion US every year. That literally means almost about $193 million US goes down the drain every day. That should worry us. What should also worry us is that post-harvest losses as we speak today are costing the African continent $48 billion US. That is something that should worry us. But the African continent is importing food $35 billion US every year. That is exporting employment and importing unemployment. This is unacceptable. Where we have post-harvest losses costing the continent $48 billion. When you juxtapose $48 billion with $35 billion, the continent should not import a single grain. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this time of need, the high youth unemployment is what will define this continent. This is an insurmountable challenge. This is an insurmountable challenge in a continent where young people aged 15 to 25 years old represent over 60% of the entire continent population. But 60% of this very youthful population in the African continent today is unemployed. This paradox must be addressed. If it is left unaddressed, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the lack of opportunity among these young people will have more dramatic consequences for this continent more than ever before. And in 8 years from today, as we speak, the number of Africans reaching working age will exceed the rest of the world combined. This should send not just a signal for us to start thinking about what we can harness from the energy, the vibrancy of this youth to do, but the continent today relating to the post-harvest losses that I mentioned. Poverty and unemployment is also a continent that have low productivity levels, 2,000% more than any other part of the globe. And this is 20 times lower than the developed world because of the minimal value addition to what we produce. And this is affecting the growth of industries in the African continent, translating to minimal income and job creation. Right here in Nigeria, low value addition means that the post-harvest losses are costing you as a country up to about $9 billion US annually, translating not only to food loss, but also translating to incomes and job opportunities along the entire supply chain. These losses occur in some of Nigeria's key agro value chain. Rice, where Nigeria is Africa's top producer, loses up to about 56 billion naira annually. That's almost about $155 million US. Tomato, where Nigeria is the world's 16th largest producer, loses 50% of the total production. Maize, where losses are up to about costing the country up to about 120 billion naira annually. That's almost about $330 million US annually. And topping all of this is cassava, where Nigeria, the top global producer, loses up to about 144 billion naira annually. That's almost 400 billion naira annually. This means that if we adjust to reverse these losses across the entire value chain by integrating clean energy for processing, by ensuring that efficient information communication technology enables linkages to markets and supply value chains, will reverse these losses and potentially save Nigeria the $9 billion US that is lost annually as a result of these post-harvest losses. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, with all these challenges, there are opportunities. Because as the African proverb goes, a path doesn't close with a man with a machete. No problem of human destiny is beyond human beings. It has never been, because despite the fact that there are challenges anywhere in the world, people have always provided solutions for that. And because of these challenges, we should be happy that we can find those solutions. This African proverb should comfort us, that the path doesn't close on a man with a machete. Africa is endowed with abundant worlds. Africa is endowed with abundant potential aligned to these catalytic sectors of agriculture and clean energy. I am talking about the 65% of the uncultivated arable land. I'm talking about the 10% of internal renewable freshwater. I'm talking about the best solar resource on earth, right here in the African continent, where, for example, here in Nigeria can generate up to about 600